what's up? How you doing? So this is gonna be my updated version of Fire Reap Chieftain, but this time it is Inquisitor, because in Ancestor League 3.22 patch, GGG decided to just butcher Chieftain completely. He is now pretty much useless in my opinion for this build. Maybe he is good for other builds, but yeah, normally you used to play Fire Chief. That is a build that I created in 3.18, I guess. The video links are going to be in the description if you want to check that version. You can maybe update that path of building yourself, but I'm not going to do that. So I decided to just change the build completely to a Templar instead, because Templar is already a good character. And yes, sad news for Chieftain, unfortunately. So let's just explain how this build works, all of those. So first of all, this is a fire conversion build, but we are going to do that for both DPS and defense. So let's take a look at the DPS first. So Reap is a physical spell. It is a blood spell, so it is actually free to cast, but it actually costs life. Inquisitor already has lots of regeneration, a permanent consecrated ground effect thanks to Inquisitor ascendancy point, and also we are gonna get lots of regeneration from items, vitality, not vitality aura on this build, and some more regeneration on the talent tree. Alright. So you can actually just regenerate that life instantly, so that life cost is not gonna be an issue. So you can actually reserve a lot of mana, just leave some mana for maybe some curse, mobility spell, those kind of stuff. So in the end, it's gonna be super easy to maintain your mana for this build. So it is a physical spell, that's why we need to convert it to something. This is a fire build this time. I also have a lightning and cold reap guides, by the way. Those links are also going to be in the description, but also those builds a little bit outdated, because again I made all of those builds in 3.18. Reap was meta actually because of me, I guess. Those videos got a lot of views and lots of people were playing those builds back in the day. So yeah, this is a fire build. We are going to convert physical to fire with Avatar of Fire, Keystone, Fire Mastery, 40% conversion on the talent tree, so that's going to be 90% total. And finally the rest 10%, I just put something on my glows graphics. It is at least 20%, so even the minimum roll works. So right now this is a fire build. So what about the defensive portion? So that's actually why this build is so much tankier compared to most builds in the game. So first of all, this is a very expensive build. You need a Mage Blood plus a couple hundred more Divines to min-max obviously everything. I'm not sure if you can play without Mage Blood. It should be doable because it is so easy to cap resistances. So maybe if you have a lower budget, if you know what you are doing, feel free to try the build without a Mage Blood actually. But still, some gems are super expensive, some build enabling items are super expensive. So you at least need 100 Divines, even without a Mage Blood, if you want to try that. So how is this build possible? So Sublime Vision, but Spirit of Fire version. So once you search for this jewel, it is like a Watcher's Eye. There are lots of different versions. You may you want to search for Spirit of Fire are disabled. Aura skill other than Spirit of Fire are disabled. So this way, it's going to be a Spirit of Fire version, Sublime Vision. Cold and lightning damage taken as fire damage while affected by Spirit of Fire. But this jewel actually locks you to use a single aura, which is going to be Spirit of Fire. So this build actually misses lots of DPS auras. So maybe if you are a guy who plays, party play, maybe you have a friend, a girlfriend, whatever. Maybe you want to play as a duo. If you have an aura bot friend, which just pumps up all the DPS auras, you will have enormous amounts of DPS numbers on your path of building. You will just delete everything instantly, because this build is actually without any DPS auras. This is how this build works. Because Reap is such a powerful skill, this build deals a shit ton of DPS. So that's what makes this build possible. So we just convert cold and lightning damage taken as fire, but we obviously need more because this jewel only provides 30%. So 20% maximum rolled Dawnbreaker shield. You need to buy something that has maximum cold and lightning rolls. Otherwise you will probably die. Physical damage taken is also nice. I tried to also convert that. I believe my conversion is like 90 something percent. It is not 100%. You also need a maximum roll Dawnbreaker if you want to have maybe achieve 100% conversion on your physical, but it isn't that important. if you have above 85%, I guess 90% physical conversion, you're gonna be technically unkillable against physical damage. This is actually also how the build tanks Uber Shepherd Slam, Tentacles, everything in the game, end game, you know, offers. So yeah. So more conversion, Cloak of Flame, physical damage taken as fire damage. This body armor is like 1 chaos, but if, obviously we want to use some corruptions. You can also maybe try some double corrupting, those kind of stuff. So in the end, something that provides maybe +1 resistances, percentage damage, plus gems, anything that works for the build. So that's gonna be your min-max. Maybe a crit damage reduction. This build is not crit immune. You can also maybe use some tattoos on intelligence nodes to be maybe crit immune if you worry about that. That should probably be useful on Simulacrum farming. This build can obviously farm Simulacrum. Clear speed is, let's say, B tier, because Reap doesn't have so much AoE, at least this version. This is mostly a bossing and 100% Delirium farm build. So maybe feel free to get more AoE. So maybe you can get a Cloak of Flame with reduced crit plus some tattoos, so be crit immune for Simulacrum farming. I actually completed 5 Simulacrums for the challenges, and I only died once. So yeah, you don't actually need that much. Yeah, but in the end, a min-maxed Cloak of Flames with some corruption might be nice, obviously. More conversion, Lethal Pride, Jewel with Rakiata Commander. So this actually converts a keystone in the radius to Tempered by War keystone, 50% cold and lightning damage taken as fire. So combining all of these, Sublime Vision 30%, Tempered by War 50%, that makes 80%, and finally a maximum rolled Dawnbreaker Shield 20%, that makes 100% cold and lightning damage taken as fire damage, which actually means that this character doesn't have to do anything with cold and lightning resistances, so you actually do not get any of those resistances. So my resistances are actually minus, alright? You don't need any of those. You just want to keep your fire resist, which is gonna be super easy, especially if you have Mage Blood. Spirit of Fire already provides a lot of fire resist, and also Chaos resist for obviously mitigation against Chaos damage. So physical conversion, rest of the physical conversion is on our helmet. Armor base obviously is nice for this build, but you can actually skip armor, because actually, let me just check my path of building. My armor is 3.5k. It is nothing. You don't even use determination. Obviously, we cannot do any of those thanks to Sublime Vision. Because we have conversion, we actually take all kind of damage from fire damage. And if your fire resist is, let's say, 90%, that is what you need to do to min-max, you are gonna actually mitigate everything from 90%. That is why it is so much powerful. If you are not familiar with how armor works, actually, let's say you have 50k armor, right? That is nice. It's a nice value. Maybe you are playing an armor stacker with 1 million armor, alright? That is also another scenario. These builds are gonna get one-shotted by Uber Shepherd Slam, because armor alone actually doesn't protect you after some point. Not sure how the calculations work, you know, detailed. I believe they are written in Wikipedia, but armor alone actually doesn't protect you that much against one-shot stupid abilities. But if you have something like this build, convert everything to fire, because your resistance is 90%, you will all the time get hit and mitigated from that 90%. So that's why you will actually mitigate those 1000 something damage dealing abilities like Uber Shepherd Slam, and bam, no damage in the end. So that is actually how you mitigate those kind of stupid stuff. So conversion in the end is so much powerful in this game for defense. That is technically how the build is. I believe I was about to explain the helmet, so let's just check the other items and explain more stuff if I see fit, depending on the situation. So helmet, first of all, the enchant maximum blood charges, reaps, that is actually reaps enchant. There is no such thing as reap blood charge. So yeah, if you are new to reap, don't search for reap something. It is actually maximum blood charges, because once you hit an enemy and if the enemy doesn't die, I believe you get some blood charges, and that actually nets you more DPS. So +1 is actually very nice for additional DPS. On the implicits, obviously we want to use Ether of Exarch, not Ether of Words, Searing Exarch, those currencies to get some cast speed. And I also chose physical damage taken as fire. You can actually use a higher tier and get more physical damage taken as fire. There is also physical damage taken as fire near a unique enemy, which actually is like 10%, maybe 15%. That actually keeps your physical damage conversion, and that is actually super useful on boss fights. That is where you should actually concern about your defenses. So actually you can do that to cap your physical conversion. Again, mine was like 95%, maybe 97, something like that, and I was technically immune to those kind of one-shot abilities anyways. And also for the prefix, you will put more physical damage taken as fire. Life regeneration on your items. If you want to craft something yourself, you can use life fossil resistant, I guess. Just a single resonator, you can do that, or maybe combine it with some other stuff. This is actually how I crafted my helmet. That is how you can actually get lots of life regeneration, those kind of stuff at the same time. Intelligence also works, but it is not needed. Right now in Aztiri League, you can actually use tattoos to lower your attributes, which is gonna be important for this build, because let's just explain the next item, Amulet. Leadership's Prize, I use this a lot on my builds because this is just a broken item. And for this build, because we only concern about fire resist, you can actually get minus value cold and lightning, amulet, which is gonna be super cheap because no one actually buys this. Obviously for you also want an anoint, which is gonna cost you a tainted oil, so it will actually cost something in the end. This is not a free amulet because Whispers of Doom +1 curse actually costs 3 golden oils, which is like 300 chaos something, plus tainted oil, what's that, 150 chaos, so more than 2 divines for the anoint, which is stupid. But yeah, this is an endgame super expensive build anyways. So yeah, this amulet lets you apply brittle, trap and scorch instead of the usual ailments, which are gonna be ignite, chill, freeze, shock. Because this is a fire combat build, we are gonna normally deal ignite, which is useless, so this is actually super useful for this build. But you need to make sure that your highest attributes are equal. So let's say you have 300 strength, 200 intelligence. So you actually need to get rid of 100 strength, which is something that you cannot normally do. But for this particular season, you can actually do that by using tattoos. So that's actually what makes this build so easy to build compared to previous seasons. So just use tattoos, balance your attributes. If you still need maybe something like 2 strength, 1 strength, or maybe you have more strength compared to your intelligence, just use catalyst, on your mage blood. If your mage blood already has maybe attribute catalyst on it, just use another catalyst, get rid of that more attributes. Use maybe blessed orbs and catalyst again to balance your strength on your mage blood. So actually in the end you have strength and intelligence actually equal to each other. So that is how to do that easily. Tattoos and use currencies on your mage blood, blessed orbs and intrinsic, I believe, catalyst, attribute 1. So yeah, moving on, let's take a look at the weapon. So this is a self-cast build, so cast speed is super important. Creep is a physical spell, obviously, +1 physical spell skill gems, +1 all spell skill gems, that also works. Or that actually also works for another thing, Spirit of Fire. So make sure you buy a 21 level Spirit of Fire. Actually, Spirit of Fire provides additional maximum resist on 23 levels. So you actually need +2 levels. 1 level comes from tattoo on a strength, 30 strength notable on the talent tree. That tattoo is actually super cheap for some reason, +1 all strength skill gems. Honor tattoo of the Warlord. That makes 22 levels, and finally, if you have a good weapon with +1 all spell, that makes 23 level Spirit of Fire. If you have a lower budget weapon, consider crafting +1 AoE spells, AoE gems, on your helmet or gloves prefix. That is actually a crafting bench modifier. So, and put your auras, we only have 1 aura, but anyways, yeah, put Spirit of Fire in that. So that actually makes 23 in the end. So you need to have 23 levels Spirit of Fire for additional maximum resistances to push that 90% fire resist. So on the weapon, obviously spell damage, crit multiplier, those kind of stuff. Actually extra chaos doesn't work. That is actually how I used this weapon because I didn't actually care that much. You can maybe also put double damage while focused if you want to press an extra button, or just regular double damage. Cast speed, those kind of stuff are very good for this particular build. Gloves. Again, this build doesn't need much fire resist, especially if you have Mage Blood. We already do not get any of the other resistances anyways. So on your rare items, you may wanna put Regeneration, Life. Fire resist still gives, by the way, resistance, because there is a mastery that actually converts fire resist to what's that? Life regeneration. So you can actually also get fire resist, or maybe get other resistances and convert those to fire resist from Harvest Craft, and also chaos resist, obviously, for your rare items. Rest of the stuff, again, on your gloves, you need to have an open prefix to finish that fire conversion. Exposure, unnerve, just no-brainer. Boots, again, life, regeneration, chaos resist. If you wanna be immune to chill, I highly recommend you to do that. And open prefix, put movement speed, avoid being chilled. This build is not ailment immune, but we use Arctic Armor for more defense. It is actually not an aura, so we can actually use that on this build. That actually provides us freeze immunity. Chill immunity comes from boots. Shock immunity comes from Tempest Shield buff. That is also not an aura, so we can actually use that. That also provides lots of spell block, which are gonna also be glancing below blocks for more mitigation in the end. So yeah, we actually are immune to the usual elemental ailments, not ignite. Not that you actually need, because we already have 90% fire resist, so ignite actually can't hurt us. Also have thousands of life regeneration per second. Boots are also a good place to put more max fire resist. So talking about fire resist maximum, there is also a tattoo that grants +1. I actually use 2 of those on different sides of my talent tree. Check those. Try to get that plus 90% resistance. Yeah, 90% fire res. And I guess finally, yeah, rings. Chaos resist. So amethyst rings are good, or rings that has already chaos resist maybe. Crit multiplier, cast speed. If you maybe need dexterity, I believe you don't need, but maybe put that. Cast speed, fire damage. I don't know, crit multiplier. If you wanna craft your own rings, maybe if you wanna min-max more, there is actually an essence, one of the corrupted ones. I'm not sure about the name, maybe I will put a picture on the screen. That actually provides physical damage as extra fire damage. That should also provide some decent damage. Maybe try to craft those kind of stuff with cast speed. Cast speed fractured rings maybe. So yeah, try to do those kind of crafts maybe. And also you can maybe lock suffixes and use Veiled Chaos Orb to maybe put some life on the prefix to finish up the craft. I don't know. You don't need any minus mana cost. Again, this is a blood build. Reap is free to cast. So yeah. I'm just checking my Path of Building. There's actually nothing much else to explain. Everything is else on the Path of Building. I also explained lots of stuff on the Path of Building. Maybe you are not watching the guide right now. I don't know if you want to learn. My personal preference, you know, if you want to play a build, you need to know what you are doing. If you don't want to watch the video, so that's why there's also a notes section that I actually explained everything, I believe. So yeah, thanks for watching. I maybe do some different builds these days, maybe an Eternity Shroud build, spoilers alert. So I'm actually thinking about doing something, but I don't have any Path of Building or anything right now. So maybe I will do something. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, consider subscribing. I don't upload these much these days, like I used to a year ago maybe. But sometimes I still post some good builds. Also, you can join my Discord, by the way. The links are in the description. I will see you later. Bye bye.